Hello and welcome. This is Japan, and we are on another episode of Evolve. And this was a big one because obviously we were going to do Women's Champ. Now, if you were like me, I sometimes watch the intro to Evolve where they have their little music and all that. Why in any sorts of the word would you update it with the main event? If you watched it, you saw that Wendy Chu wins. What is that? I was like, well, okay. I guess she's the new champion. Why? Who thought that was an idea? Who is in charge of that department? That is the most wild thing I've ever seen to spoil the main event of one of their bigger shows by just doing that. That was baffling. It really took the piss out of the whole thing because I was like, yeah, I'm kind of excited. I really want to see who wins this. But then like I knew, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll watch the rest of this episode. I don't know. I don't know what they did there. I really don't. So I guess we'll just jump into it and talk about a few different things. So, right off the bat, we had Aaron Rourke start off with the show, talking about, obviously where he came from and, having the title, the generic babyface type stuff. Nothing too bad. Then we had Braxton Cole and then Harlem Lewis afterwards, kind of staking claim. I think a triple threat type, rivalry thing that they're going with right now is a good thing. I think it's a really decent idea of at least getting some people through the gate of like, hey, these are contenders and this is what we're doing. Plus, it kind of gives the ability that like Rourke can pin Braxton Cole to retain and then still have a hot rivalry with Harlem Lewis if that's the way that they decide to go. So I thought the first part of the segment I thought was good, solid, things. I don't think there was anything too bad. They're all, trying to get better on the mic. I think Aaron Rourke's pretty decent. The other two definitely could use some help, but enough that I think it's passable for this. And the idea of the triple threat, I'm actually really excited about. So I'll put up an S tier. It'll be next week, and next week's show is pretty stacked already. So we have this match. We have the bull rope match with Cappuccino Jones and Bam Bam whatever Brooks Jensen. I forget. I hate when he says that. It just sounds so dumb. But yeah, so we already got those matches already set, so I think it's going to be a pretty cool thing. Plus, we'll probably hear from Winnie Chu, because, I mean, why not spoil what we've already been spoiled in the intro to this? Then the first note, we had the tag match with Mike Cunningham changing his name to Max Abrams. I feel like they should have gone something a little bit different. I feel like they kind of just went to a different generic name. I don't know why they decided to change his name. I guess just to kind of fully give him a redesign, because I figured the match would have had him turning heel on Lince Dorado, and that would have really set forth a lot of his main man energy type stuff. But I think they really missed the mark by just kind of having it. The one, they lost, and two, like he just didn't really get that type of opportunity. I think we could have saw something there with a really good feud for him to set up, but now it's just kind of like, okay, he's gonna be on the show for a couple weeks because they probably don't have nothing for him. So with the name change, I'll put it down and see. It's nothing crazy. I guess it's better than Mike Cunningham. I I guess. I really don't think it's anything too crazy. The match itself actually really did cook. I feel like the result was probably not the best, but I mean, it's not bad to give the new team the win. More of that. It was just kind of a relatively just kind of nothing happened on the other side of things to make them lose. Obviously, there was the tag snafu type thing that they were going for, but again, I feel like it's not that even heel like because we don't really know the other characters that well either. So it just kind of felt overall this was like just kind of a random match. It did do some pretty decent stuff. I'd put it up in B tier. I think I definitely enjoyed it, but I think at least on Mike Cunningham and Lince Dorado, I think their match between each other was better than this, but still very solid. This part was supposed to be the bull rope match. For whatever reason, it took a second picture of the end of this match, but bull rope match between Cappuccino Jones and Brooks Jensen next week, I think is a pretty solid. It seems to be just like Brooks Jensen's like number one thing. Also, we have Cam Hendricks and his partner against Tate Wilder and DJ. So 3 matches next week is pretty solid so far. I don't think they should add anything else unless it's, I guess, a small squash match that I could see them doing with one of the women just so they get them on the card. But as of this being the bull rope match, I'll put it up in B, being pretty solid. Then we had a quick little match with Dorian, and I even forgot the other guy's name because of how quick it was. He just not, doesn't need to be here, Dorian. I think he's just way too talented for Evolve. He's a huge veteran and a big indie person, so really this should just be a stepping point. He should already be on NXT, which he's already had a match on NXT, and I can see him getting more and more. Had a match on AAA, so I have a feeling we won't see much more of him. But it was a solid match. I wouldn't see. There wasn't really much to it. He looked decent. Other person just kind of got squashed. There wasn't much to say. Then we had the giant gauntlet match. The mystery person was Carmen Petrovic. Kind of figured it was be Petrovic. It made sense to multiple parts of the storyline of like she was probably the biggest person that they could bring in there without it being a completely random different person. I kind of wanted it to be Carly Bright. I kind of thought that might have been the better person to call in there because she kind of like stepped away to find herself, so she could have came in a little dirty or something, and maybe did something illegal. Like that would have been great for them to do, but they decided to go with Petrovic, which is fine. Pretty much everybody in this match has a decent little bit of like shining light to themselves to kind of like put themselves over. It was a pretty well done gauntlet match. I kind of like suffered to like put it super high up just because gauntlet matches in general, I mean, and with multi-man matches, they have some issues with people kind of just not doing anything and then kind of get randomly eliminated so they can get the pace going at certain points. This one kind of suffered from that in certain spots, but I think a lot of the spots was good. Callie Armstrong was in it. We see all her now on NXT. I think this is her last match. Good passing of the torch moment. I really do think that they should have probably had Wendy Chu pin her. I think that might have been a little bit more of a boost. I know they didn't really want to go with that, but they could have had Callie Armstrong have multiple eliminations and then get pinned by Wendy Chu at the last person. I think that would have been better. Basically having Nikita Lyons spot, who had more of that same, like, had eliminations, was the final person being pinned. Everybody else kind of, did decent in this match. PJ Voss, I think, struggled a little bit with some of the stuff. I feel like she's just kind of there and she kind of needs a little bit of a rework on like her moveset. I feel like there's just something about it that she doesn't look dominant in a lot of stuff that she does, but I think she has the ability to do that. So there's still hope. Obviously, this is Evolve and like a developmental of a developmental, so there's going to be stuff like that that could get fixed. But Wendy Chu winning was the perfect choice. I mean, there should have been no other person that had that ability to do that. A lot of people wanted Nikita Lyons, but it just doesn't make any sense. If you've watched Evolve from the beginning, if it wasn't Wendy Chu, it really was kind of pointless because she's somebody that can already establish herself in the brand. So, like, why wouldn't you just have her have that title? Because honestly, if she loses this match, there's nothing you do with her after this because she really wouldn't, have that same thing. And if she wins here, you have somebody who's legitimately goes in there and can have legitimate feuds and ability to, put herself over by having this title and could actually get herself to NXT through this way. And I think she's going to have a pretty decent, length to her, her title run. I mean, Kendall Gray had it for a pretty long, decent time. Callie Armstrong had it, pretty decent. So I think that's kind of where they go. I definitely think Aaron Rourke loses it before Wendy Chu. That should be a no-brainer either way because, Rourke's already had it for a lot longer than Wendy Chu, but, it happens like that. But I think if I was her, I would probably have her go against Nikita Lyons right after this because Nikita Lyons will be like, well, I pinned the most amount of people. It would be a pretty good feud to put them together. Similar size, similar strength. I think they could definitely, like, build off of that, with maybe, like, maybe Wendy Chu says no at first and gives somebody else that she feels is, better suited for it. And then Nikita Lyons attacks that person and then takes her spot or something. I don't know. There could be a lot of stuff that they could work with it, but I think Nikita should be the first person that she kind of goes after because I think that would really help both of them out because Nikita Lyons obviously had a good showing in this match, and if she kind of doesn't do something crazy right after this, it could be dead in the water for her too. The thing with like momentum and especially like being an Evolve, you got to be built up, and when you get built up you got to cash it in, because there's so much time in between some of the matches that you don't really ever get the opportunity to give that second look. I mean, that's why I feel like Wendy Chu was always the perfect person here, because she was a consistent player. Win, lose, draw, whatever she was on matches, she was on cards, she was on, promos on other things. You always saw her within a couple episodes, so you always knew she existed. And I think that's what they have to do with people in general, and sometimes they get a little bit stuck by having people that just completely disappear for long periods of time and just randomly have a match, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense. So that's definitely something Evolve has to work on. I think they're definitely, still trying to figure it out. It's only year 2, so there's a lot of stuff that can happen. But yeah, I'll put this up in A, put the show overall in a B. Other than the main event being completely spoiled, that really ruined the whole thing for me. To a certain extent, I watched it and saw it. I was like, did they just show Wendy Chu winning the title and they have her with the title? What? And then I like put it in the back of my brain for a certain extent. I'm like, maybe it was like something from a different thing. Like maybe she took it when she was a heel or something. The outfit looks similar, and then she comes out in the same outfit, and I'm like, yep, that was from this episode. I was like, oh god. And they show her even pinning Nikita Lyons too, so you knew Nikita Lyons was gonna get towards the very back of it. I don't know what they decided to do there, but I guess it's what they wanted to do, I guess. I don't know. But tell me what you guys think, and I'll see you guys on the next one. We'll have a bunch of videos coming up for WrestleMania, so make sure you have an eye out for those. I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.